He's the undefeated heavyweight lineal champion, a fighter that was born to fight. You might even say it runs in his blood. And only I have the USA exclusive on Mick Terrill. Hey there, Bare Knuckle News fans. I've got a guest in the Bare Knuckle News studio today that is amazing. He's the one and only Mick Terrill. Mick, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, thanks. I hope you're well too.
I am very well, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us because, Mick, you're the stuff legends are made of. All right, we're going to get right to the interview because everybody wants to talk to you. How did you start in bare knuckle?
I started by accident. There was meant to be a fight between Cowboys Quinn McDonagh and a.k.a. and Decker had pulled out, and they were after a last-minute replacement, so I stepped in and took the fight.
Where do you see a bare knuckle going in the next 2 years?
I think bare knuckle's going up and up, isn't it? It's starting to kick off. I think a lot of people are starting to take notice. It's brutal, but it's also fun as well, so I think people love it. It's quite true to the fighting form.
You know, we do love it. We're a little late to the party here across the pond. You folks have been doing that for a while, but we're very grateful that at least we have an opportunity to kind of get the sport into the U.S. And I thank David Feldman from Bare Knuckle FC for doing that. What makes a good bare knuckle fight to you?
It depends. Sometimes, I mean, if you get two very good boxers, that's going to be a good bare knuckle fight. But sometimes if you get two sluggers, that's just as good a fight. If two people are just slugging it out, I think that's entertaining.
What advice can you give to new fighters that want to go into bare knuckle?
The first advice is don't spar bare knuckle. A lot of fighters think they've got to spar and do pads bare knuckled, and you just enjoy yourself. It's whilst you're sparring and training, you use as much protection as you can so you haven't got an injury when you fight. When you come to have the fight, you're all going to hurt yourself, but at least it's just in your fight and you can recover and cry after. When you're training, you want a good frame of mind, so definitely use all the protective gear.
Are there any fights in particular that make you hungry?
Yes, there's quite a few. Obviously, Joey Beltran, I think he's called, he mentioned my name in a fight the other day, and I've seen Joey on. I call Joey a zombie. He seems to walk forward, taking damage, but he's good at giving it out. I think he's got a good gas tank. I call that style of boxing zombie, just takes the punishment. And I would really like to punch Joey a couple of times, see how we get on.
And you know, Josh Burns is also waiting in the wings for you over here.
Yeah, I fought Josh before. Josh was a big lad, heavy hitter. I know when I first fought Josh, he caught us with a left hook in the first round, and I couldn't see for 2 rounds of the right eye. So I think Josh is after a rematch as well. So anytime Josh wants it, he can have it.
You're ready to fight anybody and everybody, right?
It's the fight game. It's you're not here to pussyfoot around. It's I'm here to fight people, and people want to fight, I'll fight.
All right, you know, because bare knuckle is new to the U.S., tell our new viewers that'll be tuning into this interview who you are and how many world titles and what disciplines you hold them in, because the list is super long. So I'm going to let you do that.
Yeah, I started off Thai boxing. Before that, I played football, and I just thought I fancied, or soccer as you would call it, and I thought I fancied fighting. So I turned up at a Thai boxing gym. Barry Norman's in Baker, Newcastle, and I first went there just to keep fit, and then obviously continued, start winning fights, and then eventually I won a world title in Thai boxing. The Golden Belt World title. And then basically what had happened was I went from Thai boxing to K1. It's a faster sport and you get paid more. And if you're going to get punched and kicked, you might as well get more money for it. So I went into K1. I started fighting across Europe in super combat. And then I won a world title in K1. And then through that, I sort of, locally I was struggling getting fights in the K1 and the Thai boxing. So I started going into unlicensed boxing, and then, like I say, by accident, I got into bare knuckle boxing and I ended up winning 2 world titles bare knuckle.
You know, you've managed to stop 90% of your opponents. Is that your game plan here as well?
Well, I try to stop them as quick as possible, really. It's I'm quite lucky. I seem to cut people up. I think I've got sharp knuckles and I'm quite accurate. So I think it's a good thing to try and take the power down and damage them a little bit more. It's a little bit more torturous, but it's a lot more enjoyable.
And that beautiful uppercut. We got to talk about that because that's the thing of beauty for me.
It's the uppercut actually comes from my mum. My mum always talked about an uppercut, but I think it's you've got to set your uppercut up well, don't you? It's I throw a lot of jab left hook, try to drop my hands, draw people in, and then as soon as I step in, I lean forward with an uppercut. It's I love the shot, and it definitely rips people's faces.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen that. You know, in BKFC, you can work the clinch. So that's a little different for us here. And I know you fought BKB over in across the pond, as they say, for another organization for a while. But you have a Muay Thai background, so I don't think the clinch is going to be a problem for you if you come over here and do fight any of the U.S. fighters, right?
I think it'll be second nature for me, just dirty boxing in it. And if I'm allowed to hold somebody and punch them, I'll punch them more. And I'll definitely world punch them.
You've never pulled out of a fight. What's that about?
It's if you pay to fight, and that's what we do, we get paid to fight, you fight. I like fighting, and if I've got a little injury, it's I'm agreed to the fight, I've just got to fight. That's the way it is. I've agreed. I've fought with colds and different injuries, but you just get in there and you do your job.
Ian told me to ask you about your gum shield, which is a really cool story. Talk to our U.S. viewers about that and maybe some of your new international fans that you'll be getting from this interview, please.
My gum shield?
Yeah.
During the Thai boxing fights, you never sit down. It's I don't know why you don't. We never did. I don't take my gum shield out just because I don't like people putting their hands in my mouth. And I stand up just through the Thai boxing, really. It's I think it's a sign of weakness if you sit down.
It's interesting. You have trained with some amazing people. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky. Where we're situated in Britain, we're quite close to Amsterdam, so we're getting like Ernesto Hoostover. We've done lots of training with Ernesto, doing seminars and stuff, and I've trained with lots of good people. I trained with Huey Fury when he fought for his world title against Parker. So I've been quite lucky with my training. There's lots of good talent locally as well. So really, everyone I train with is above average.
How do you see yourself fitting into BKFC?
Yeah, I think I'll fit in quite well. I think I'm very easy to work with. I'll fight anybody, and I think the damage I cause on people, I think it'll make people want to see his fight. But I think I fit in really well. I like hitting people, and people like to watch people hit people. So that's the game plan.
I know you spoke about this fight a little bit earlier in our interview, but I want to talk a little bit more about which fight are you the most proud of and why?
Yeah, 2 really. The first one was, like I said, Michael Quinn McDonagh. He was the travelling Gypsy King, I think he was at the time. I'm sure he had over 100, 200 fights, undefeated. He was meant to fight Decker Heggie. He's become a governor title winner. And anyways, I'm sure Decker had pulled out for some reason. They needed a last-minute replacement, and I got a phone call to say, would you fight? And as a fighter, I said, yeah, no problem. So I took that fight on 10 days' notice. And anyways, I went in there, and the first round, he dropped us with a right hand. And all I remember of the fight is I got up, and I remember saying, good shot. And then I can't remember the rest of the fight, but I ended up beating him. There's a video of it actually on YouTube, but it's been doctored. They've put the first round on twice. On the real video, I've got it on my Facebook. On the last round, I think I put him down 2 or 3 times. So it was a good fight, what I can remember. when I look, what's worse of that fight, the worst part of that fight was, though, when I got paid, my wife pinched off my money. She says I give her it. I can't remember that, but she took off my purse. But the second opponent was Batchelder from America, Danny Batchelder.
Yep.
He was very technical, and I think if he was looking to do bare knuckle, it'd be nice to have him in BKFC, because he was a very good fighter. He's very tricky, very accurate, and it was a good close fight I had with him.
All right, huge thanks to Mick Terrill from taking the time across the pond to interview with me today. I'm Susan Cingari for Bare Knuckle News, and remember, no one beats us to the punch.